What's up? The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown. I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast, and it is a Tuesday into Wednesday, the 10th to the 11th of December, 2024. We're now hitting week 14 of the NFL season. Just
Hmm.
4 games to go after this, and let's discuss what happened in the beginning of December. Ryan's with me for the first time to talk NFL this season. What's up, Ryan?
How's it going? How's it going? Not necessarily as big of my forte as college football, but I came prepared to talk about it this just for this week. So
Excellent. I know you'll be able to do a great job. So we'll go through the games as we do every week. Don't forget to check us out on all podcast platforms and YouTube and check out us on all social media platforms. Um, and Magic Mind, don't forget, they'll be back next month. But my new TikTok marketplace for Magic Mind is on the way, according to the TikTok marketplace. But yeah,
perfect.
Ryan, we're here. We're here. Week 14, early December. Things are revving up, and it's gonna be intense. We got fantasy playoffs. You and I in this league. Are you in another fantasy playoff?
I'm in the playoffs in all three of my fantasy leagues this year. So
See, there's something there. So good job. Good luck to you.
thank you.
And yeah, let's get into what happens in the real thing. And as we hit into meaningful December games. So as we do every week, go through all the games and let's react, reflect, and not dispose, but embrace the NFL in week 14. First, we had a crucial Thursday night game that took place. Huge divisional matchup between the Packers and the Lions, where the Lions just scale and take a win on a 34-31 victory after a walk-off field goal. With Dan Campbell showing his balls again, with a crucial fourth down play to get them even in a closer field goal rate. So Jake Bates has done well this year. I think he would have been fine, but wanted those extra
Mhm.
5 yards, and it wound up working out. The Detroit Lions and Packers, Ryan. While the Packers, I do think, are very impressive, especially their running game is getting stronger.
Mhm.
The Lions just continue to put up points. Maybe the defense is something to take of note. Giving up 31 points is not ideal, but when
Mhm.
you have the Lions healthy, when you have Sonic and Knuckles on your side, and then if a monster Ross A. Brown doesn't have a big game, James Williams can pick up after his suspension. He's been playing very well, and Laporta's been doing well. Everything on offense is clicking with the Lions. It's just the defense, I feel, is something to pay attention to for the
Mhm.
Lions, while the Packers are still a team to take very much seriously.
Oh yeah.
There were some misplays here, not facilitating Jalen Reed at all, but yet still scored 31 points despite that. I do think if they did use their wide receiver one a little more, and Jordan Love would have made a big difference.
Mhm.
But this was exactly what was supposed to be on paper, and it was very fun to watch. Ryan, what were the big things you got out of the Lions and the Packers?
Oh, obviously, first and foremost, fun to watch the end,
Yeah,
in the aftermath with the I guess what they said, the balls of steel, right? But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of the Packers offense. Um, I think it's actually just more of the Packers offense is really starting to click than I mean, I do think that the Lions obviously need to look at the fact that they gave up 31 points. You should never do that. It's very hard to win football games when you do that. They're just lucky they happen to have a very good offense that can, score 34. But
hmm
going forward, especially into the postseason, if you can let up 31 points, that's going to be a problem, more likely than not. But I do think that a lot of that does not necessarily fall strictly on the defense, but also on the fact that this Packers, again, running game with Jacobs has gotten much better. Um, and then Watson, the wide receiver out of Green Bay, picked him up in my fantasy because he's been doing much better. So
Especially
he's
later in games, he's been a big
yeah,
facilitator.
exactly. And that's the other thing too. I will say, especially when you watch it from the fantasy angle, you see, nothing, 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 and boom, it explodes.
Yeah, right.
And so, yeah, I do think that they have, I think, a solid team actually. I think that, I mean, 9-4. I mean, 9-4 is their record. Nothing you could do about that. But there are teams with better records than the Packers, who I don't necessarily agree are better teams
Hmm.
than the Packers. And we'll probably talk about one of those teams later. But and so I think that the Packers have a really strong team. It's just going to be a matter of who they get. Really, it's going to be a matter of who they get placed up against and who's healthy and who's not. I think that that's just unfortunate for them, but it's where it is. Is there are teams that are better than Packers? There are teams that are worse than the Packers. If they're healthy, I think that they got good. They got a good shot. It just depends on who is put in front of them week after week.
Absolutely. Good stuff on there. So why don't we now go into the Sunday portion of week 14? First with the Saints and the Giants, where the Saints win by a score of 40-11. Derek
Oof.
Carr's out, get big injury. I don't think there's a good chance you might not see him for the rest of the season. But with how close the division is, New Orleans do have meaningful games there.
Yep.
But the thing here with the Giants, I mean, there's really nothing more to discuss about this team. It's just a matter if the Giants will decide to keep Dayball and Shane together. I mean, they looked horrible. I think they're taking out there. Drew Lock didn't even get a completed pass until the second quarter.
Hmm.
He somehow had the most rushing yards for the game.
With five
And
carries too, yeah.
honestly, the Saints did not play a good game either. They're just taking
No,
advantage of a lost Giants team. So I mean, there's not really much to analyze here. The only two
no,
questions I have is number one, well, let's first with the Saints. Do you think the Saints have any shot whatsoever to win this division? I don't think so, even though
no,
mathematically they're closer with it. But they don't have a quarterback.
no.
Um,
Yeah.
they've been missing with their receivers, and basically the game is dictated if Kamara has a good game or not. And
Yep. That's I was about to say that. Yeah.
even with a bad defense the Giants played, Kamara had still a solid 17 carries, but only 44 yards. That's my
Yep.
first question. Saints are just the Saints with with an interim coach that at least could be inspiring.
Yeah, I think that the reality is you've got in that particular group, you've got the Falcons and you've got Tampa. If the Falcons can do a quick turnaround, then maybe they can pass Tampa, but no. You know what I mean? Like that there's no, the Saints aren't part of the math. I know the numbers aren't far off. They're only like one game behind the Falcons, who are one game behind the Buccaneers, but I did two games behind first with this team. How frankly horrible they've been playing recently. Again, they got exactly one thing. It's if Kamara is good, then they have a shot to win. If they can stop him or just he has a bad game, then they have absolutely nothing else going for them. So yeah, I can't see being two games back with the talent they have. I don't see how they could possibly make a run toward the top of what are they, the South?
Yep.
Yeah, right, South.
No chance of this one. For the Giants right now, they are at the second overall pick. Vegas is at number one. The
Hmm.
Giants seem to have lost the lock. The Giants seem to be free falling. I don't know if you saw last week. There was somebody who flew a plane addressing the owner of the Giants, Mr. Mara. Please fix this garbage.
Yeah,
All those lines. There was an OnlyFans model hired to flash the Saints. I mean, but here's the thing with this one though,
that's pretty
Ryan.
clever, I will
It's
say.
funny, but it just shows how much of a joke the Giants have turned into over the past few years. At this particular season, remember, it's the 100th anniversary. This is their 100th season. And if they lose to Baltimore this week, they will have gone winless in at home
Mm.
for their 100th season. And it's just frustrating that they're going to get a pass because the Daniel Jones experiment failed, which they should be held accountable for. And on top of this, despite this fail, they might get another chance just to find another quarterback and just to stay consistent. Excuse
Bless you.
me, for consistence sake.
As a Giants
Oh,
fan, bless you. I have to
excuse me.
ask. I have to ask. Their number two draft pick, right? Right
Hmm.
now. There's been rumors, just little rumors, that Deion Sanders could find himself coaching wherever Shador gets drafted. Does that make you more or less excited about the prospect of drafting Shador Sanders to be the new quarterback for the Giants.
I'm really indifferent to answer your question because might as well try something. You might as well do the stunt coaching hire, despite success in the
Worked for
pros.
Colorado.
Yeah, you just wonder can he discipline and inspire professional players
Hmm.
right there. So, I mean, I guess it's fine. I think Vegas will even take a little more to make sure that's the case. And Dion literally went to Coach Antonio Pierce and told him to draft Shador and somehow figure out a way to draft Travis
To
Hunter too.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think Vegas, that's their situation to win.
They're
But
not
all I
getting
want
both.
is a chance. And the Giants like keep these games competitive but just lose. I mean, the way with the Giants lost was a blocked field goal, which apparently
Hmm.
people in the stands were actually cheering for. It's just I'm just ready for the season to end, and I'm glad I have other ways to distract me throughout the NFL season.
Yeah.
So why don't I just hit on those two other ones? Well, with the Bucks slashing the Vegas Raiders, while
Yep.
Brock Bowers is fun to watch, that's all Vegas has. Continue to have quarterback problems, and Aiden O'Connell got out. They have this guy Shea McCormick who's been interested, a sincere McCormick
Hmm.
who's a fun to watch. But the Bucks are just trying to make up for lost time. They've been killed by the injury bug, but I think a statement victory at home, even against an inferior opponent, I think that's a great thing for Tampa. And Baker Mayfield, man, I know he won't be MVP because of the record, but that dude has been fighting all season long for that team. And he's getting a lot of my respect this particular season, especially
Yeah.
with all the injuries on offense he's dealt with.
I don't know that there's ever been a comeback in sport, and certainly in football, quite as fun and interesting to watch as Baker Mayfield. I feel like he was left for like, I don't want to say dead, but like he was left just on the cutting room floor at one point as
Yeah.
just one of those failed prospects who comes up with with some hype and nothing to back it up. And that's obviously that was incorrect. Every team he's been on has been better for having had him on it. And coming into a team that, again, was at one point a contender because of Tom Brady, like somewhat recently, coming into that team and frankly making it, I think it's maybe the darkest of dark horses you could possibly imagine. I think there's still several teams more likely than them to find themselves deep in the postseason, but it's not. It wouldn't be crazy if someone said that they thought the Bucks might go deep. It's not impossible to imagine, um, and that's
Yeah, I think
entirely
at least get win a game and maybe make the divisional round.
right.
Maybe even get to the division the NFC Championship. I do think all roads will lead against Detroit,
Yes,
even so
yeah.
far. But
Detroit's going to be very good.
Who plays Detroit in that NFC Championship will be the interesting question.
Yeah, and it could be again. It could be the Bucks, and that's all Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and I just think the Raiders are gonna tank to get the Sanders, at least Shador. I
I
don't
don't
know.
see any way how you get Travis Hunter. That's some silly season talk out of Deion Sanders, my opinion.
The only thing is just looking at the board. It's just way too early to look at this. You really can only look at
Yeah,
this after, um, you could only really look at this after really the last game of the season.
yeah. See what
But
trade might be available. Yeah,
if
obviously, but
anything, New England could use Travis Hunter if they want to
hmm
trade that. Carolina depends on what they want to do with the pick. If they want to keep Bryce Young, but Bryce Young has actually played well the past few weeks. Same
yes,
with
yeah.
Jacksonville, what they want to do, but that's going to be very hard to pull off. You have to
Getting
literally give
both,
up
yeah,
everything. So, we'll see when that all unfolds,
yeah,
especially what's Travis if and when he wins the Heisman.
yeah,
But adding to that, Jacksonville getting a win with Mac Jones against the Titans. That is what the interesting part with the Titans. I just think Will Levis is not here to stay. I think
yeah.
they might be getting a new quarterback. Maybe Aaron Rodgers out winds up in Tennessee, honestly. But but Jacksonville getting the win thanks to their defense and special teams. It's pretty funny there. Like that much to really break down these two teams. Only the matter of Jacksonville actually winning kind of
Yeah, I mean, they
lessens
both
their chance for
suck.
a better draft pick. We only have the
They,
end zone boys to watch for Tennessee games.
Yeah, they both suck. The horrible teams. Aaron Rodgers to Tennessee, I don't think happens because who does he have? Like, who does Tennessee have at all? Like, I know it's easy to,
Well,
Will
that's why
Levis.
they would bring Aaron Rodgers, because if the Jets are making a new regime change,
Hmm.
you pick a team that a young and experienced coach. Yeah, a team that doesn't have anyone on offense except Calvin Ridley. Though Tony Pollard's actually had a pretty good season,
He has.
but he's
Pollard
old
is one
too.
of, yeah, Tony Pollard's one of my secret weapons in fantasy
Yeah,
this year. He's been very good, but I don't know. To me, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want a team that's a little bit more ready than that one, personally.
I guess my only question with Jacksonville: Do you keep Trevor Lawrence, or you try to trade him? What does Tony Khan's dad do? Decide.
I do believe Tony Khan actually does run the operations around there too,
Oh,
I
he
will
does.
say.
Oh, okay. So he
I do
does.
think so.
So
It's not
this
his
is why.
team, it's his dad's team, but
So
yeah.
this is why Jacksonville has fallen off focusing more on AEW. I mean,
Man.
it's something to think about. They made a lot of moves in the offseason that have all failed.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how weak this draft class of quarterbacks are. Not that they're going to draft a quarterback, I don't think they are. But
Yeah,
just thinking about right now, if I'm a team, like, all right, if I'm like a Panthers team, right? With the way that this quarterback class is kind of shaping out in the college level, I think I'm going to hold. You know what I mean? Like, if I've got a younger quarterback who maybe there's something there, sort of thing, I think I'm going to hold one more season, see if I can't get a better slate of QBs next year. Focus on giving my current QB, like a Bryce Young, some more tools, or in the case of Bryce Young, maybe some more like outs. Some some more people to do like quick little route runs that are pretty good. Pretty like hardy, so they can shake off a tackler or two. I think that's what I would do if I had even a halfway decent, chance in my mind that the quarterback I have could play another season. I don't think I would trade him because of how limited the quarterback stock is.
yeah,
And so to me, I think that means no. I think that Jacksonville will keep Lawrence simply because this is not a good year to try and replace him. Um, it doesn't mean they won't try and find, maybe a more experienced backup. Like I said, Mac Jones being who you have to turn to is not a good thing for your team. So trying to find
he's not a
somebody,
pro.
yeah, trying to find somebody who, is in a bad situation. I can think of a few. Um, One of them is currently in Pittsburgh, who got a little bit shafted, frankly. I could see how
With
someone
Justin
like,
Fields.
yes, I could see how or someone like Fields, he's not the only one, might find themselves feeling a little bit bummed that they lost a starting gig for basically no reason. And you could try and get them to come in and then, run a QB, run a rotating QB thing for a bit till you figure out who's the better fit. But I don't know.
Makes sense. We'll see what time tells with that. While up 26 to 23, getting a 52-second 42-yard field goal. The Jets were up 26 to 23, and well, that was and somehow too much time for the Jets to give to Tua. Brings them down the field, get a 52-yard field goal, no chip shot there, and then win it overtime on a Jonnu Smith touchdown. The Dolphins keep their season alive with a
Yeah.
32 to 26 victory. The Jets are 3-10, Ryan. 3-10.
They are indeed 3-10. I will say though, 6-7. I don't know how alive that Dolphin season is either. Like, again, technically it's alive, and they got a
Mhm.
better shot than the was that we said the Saints from before. But
Yeah.
uh, it's just still like
Still
yeah, I
makes
think
them in
that
the
they're
hunt at least, but yeah, it will
yeah,
be
but I
hard.
do think they're pretty the darkest of dark horses. Yeah, this Jets team. I have to say though, you just look at the box scores. 3, 10, 10, 3. Like that's consistent scoring until the very end. And then obviously you know, we lost. And that's happened a few times to us this season where we looked like we might win and then we didn't. Um, So I think there's frankly something to the idea that the Jets have got some weird bad luck. Don't know where it came from. And this is not particularly football. You know what I mean? Like I wish I could say, oh, they have to do this or that. I think they might just be plain an unlucky team. Uh, and I
Yeah, when I
just
was watching this, I just like they're not gonna win this. They're gonna screw this up.
right, but at the same time, it's like screw it up. They didn't leave that much time.
Yeah, right.
Like any other team in that situation probably would have won the football game. It's not like it's almost like they're like an anti-Chiefs this season.
That's
In that like
a good
the
one.
Chiefs can't literally couldn't force themselves to lose a football game this season, and the Jets cannot even accidentally win a football game this season. Um, but in general, the Aaron Rodgers era, if you want to call it that, is done. It's over. He's not playing for the Jets next year. Um, I think that everyone on that coaching staff is pretty much fired. They should sell. They won't sell. I guess again, all we can hope for is that maybe they find themselves some consultants and they pay them, pay some good money to some real consultants to help them turn the team around from like the front off, like from the back office end. I don't know who that is. I don't know who's currently on the market to be a consultant for the team, and it's frankly it's very atypical for the head coach to really have a consultant. You have like offense, defense, specific positions. The GM will sometimes hire consultants to help with that stuff. The head coach still needs to be a good head coach. I don't know who that is. I don't know if they try and bring somebody from outside of the NFL right now, or if they try and promote somebody from a different team. I just don't know. There's not a lot of big names on the O coordinators and D coordinators in the NFL right now that are looking for that particular promotion. So I don't know where they go from here, but yeah, they're gonna have to rebuild pretty much their entire infrastructure. Um, and even that will be the first millimeter of a step. And then yeah, they also should probably, although I don't even know that they should find their quarterback this year. I won't lie to you, Matt. I think that would be unfair to the quarterback. We've seen
Yeah.
this happen, but I mean, we've seen it happen. We see Sam Darnold, who we'll talk about in a second. We've seen Geno Smith, who we'll probably also talk about in a second. Um, like we have actually a proven track record of taking good, talented quarterbacks, putting them into the worst system imaginable early in their career, and then they have to fight their way out of a hole that the Jets and the Jets alone put them in.
Cause.
That if no,
Haha.
seriously, had Geno Smith or Sam Darnold been drafted by anybody else, there's a chance we're having a totally different conversation about the two of them. Instead of, wow, what a redemption story. How did they get so good? They would be the people that we turn to constantly when we talk about good quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
That's who they would be. They would be those guys that we always talk about. Jordan Love. No one's ever like, is Jordan Love a good quarterback? Yeah, of course he is. You know what I mean? Like that's as an example, Kirk Cousins up until this season, no one was ever like, is he a good quarterback? Yes, of course he is. So like I really do think that the Jets screwed them. And I think that frankly the new leadership needs to know that. They need to pick up whoever is interested in paycheck and experienced signal caller to be in the backfield for a season or two, build around them, and you know, next year or the year after is when you find your last piece, your franchise quarterback. But I don't know. None of this is gonna happen. This is all how I would do it, which is how I know they'll never do it because they've never done anything the right way. So
Nope, they don't. And I would love to. We just had so much time to talk about, but when the Jet season's over, we can really
yeah,
absorb that in. But now they're even not even in a good draft position. They're a seventh
yeah.
after having this
Which,
horrible season.
which in fairness, that's where all of the quarterbacks are gonna be.
That's fair.
So if they do decide to ignore me and grab a quarterback right off rip, that's where they'll be.
The Steelers won at home against Cleveland. Thanks to Cleveland and Jameis Winston's mistake-prone game throughout. But Russell Wilson, I think, has shown he's not washed.
No, no,
Everybody is facilitating. The running game's on point. The rise of the tight end and Pat Freiermuth, probably one of the more underrated tight ends next to McBride
Mhm.
in Arizona. Everything's working out for New Orleans, especially defensively. The only thing this time now that they're really scoring points, which was different from this season. I think the Steelers team is a team that has to be taken very, very seriously in the
Yeah,
AFC.
no, I agree with that. And like I said, I know I made that crack about Justin Fields earlier and Russell Wilson, but you're right. It's not Russell Wilson has been doing very good. So
Yeah.
they almost have like an embarrassment of options here because I mean, let's not kid ourselves out. They're in this position because when he couldn't play, Justin Fields played at an incredibly high level. Now he's back, and now Russell Wilson's back, and the team's only gotten better because of it. Um, yeah, I agree with you. They're definitely a team that has, I won't even say playoff ambitions because I think that's putting it mildly. I think they have like, playoff expectations. I think that they expect to be somebody that we're talking about at the very end of the season, maybe even the very end toward the end of the postseason, as possible contenders. Will
Yeah,
that
this
work
I
out?
think they're gonna win the division.
Yep.
Looks like they're gonna pull it off.
Hmm.
And then for the Browns are the Browns. James Winston's just a fun quarterback, but
He really is.
they will.
No one keeps him. Everyone throws him away. Why do we do that? Just keep him somewhere. Let him. I'm being like totally serious about this. The Browns team, I mean, they still lose all the time, but like one, they do it with a smile on their face, which is wild.
The
And then,
Miz.
and two, and more importantly, I feel like if you just pick Winston, if you just give it to him, give him the keys and say, all right, fine, you're in charge. Eventually they'll get there. I really do. Like
The
every
only thing
time I
is just
watch him, he's
time
good.
against him because he got drafted at 16 and he was a first overall pick.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
true. He's
do
not a
think
young
he's worth
man,
it.
but still, like
Yeah,
I just really do think that if they just locked that in, and because it's like honestly, it's like the Jets. When you have the top of your team, your supposed like leaders keep going in and out, inexperienced people versus people who've never done it before in terms of the leadership stuff or haven't done it in a long time. When you keep doing stuff like that, you never build a team kind of like flow. And that's what happened with the Jets, by the way, this year is Aaron Rodgers tried to create his Green Bay flow, but he tried to do it in like one off season, as opposed to the entirety of his run in Green Bay, which he was an icon for that run in Green Bay, an All-Star and an MVP. I think they just gotta. He's good enough. Winston's good enough. Lock him in, and then start getting everybody into the Jameson's gunslinger mentality. You know what I mean? That's how I would say Winston's a gunslinger. You know what I mean? He likes to just go for it, whatever
I do.
it is. Did you see his press conference when they were talking about pick
About
six and
God,
he goes,
he needs God to stop it.
he did. They're like, what do you think when you throw those whatever those picks? And he goes, I just you praying to God that they're not a pick six or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just,
He's gonna
that's
be
the
famous
mentality.
post NFL career.
Yeah, that's the mentality. I think the Browns should just embrace it under him for a few years and see what you can build around him, you
I
know?
agree. He's gonna be famous post career. For the return of Kirk Cousins to Minnesota ends in disaster.
Yeah.
344 yards, but two picks and outright terrible. While the person who replaced him, Sam Darnold, throws five touchdowns, 347 yards,
Yeah.
and they are 11-2, and everything's clicking right on offense, on defense. Sam Darnold should get paid, quite frankly. We'll have a discussion to them or JJ McCarthy, but he's improved after a little short season skid in November. He's been great. Kirk Cousins has been terrible. The Atlanta has lost four in a row. Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown a touchdown in the last four games. He's
Yep.
thrown eight picks since then. And yeah, this is just really, really bad. It seems that some people theorize that Michael Penix Jr. just isn't ready. That's why Kirk
Cousins
Cousins
is still
still is
playing.
putting it out there. But yeah, Atlanta, yeah, really throwed away this division in a way, and now they're holding on for dear life. But I don't think Kirk Cousins in that NFL quarterback series, he is just so damn likable. But I don't know, man. The sun might be shining down despite him just getting a 4-year contract, and this is his year one. Um,
I
Bro's
mean, he's
having a
not
tough
going
time in the
anywhere.
fast food. Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. One, and I do still believe this, despite being 6-7, despite their current kind of slide, right? If you have a quarterback who's not quite ready yet, if you think that Penix Jr. is just not ready to be the guy in charge, you could do a heck of a lot worse than having him learn behind Kirk Cousins. Cousins was, came out of nowhere and built a career in the NFL,
Yeah.
seemingly out of hard work and determination. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not even like to be mean, but like, there are some people who show up, you're like, oh, this person's going to be a star. And I don't believe anybody thought that that was Kirk Cousins. Nobody. And
Fourth
then he
round
did it.
pick. And he was picked with RG3. They were the same
Yeah,
exact draft class.
exactly. So, and then he did it. And so, like, if
He's
there's
still
anyone who
playing, and
knows,
RG3's not.
yeah, exactly. If there's anyone who knows how to like find your rhythm, build your confidence, and then become a competent captain for a team, it is Kirk Cousins. And I do think that previously he was a competent captain for the team. I think part of the issue is the Falcons, have a new coach. They don't have a ton of like threats anyway, and it's just not a great situation. But the
Yeah.
Vikings again are very good. I will say, I said at the
It's all
beginning,
that
there's
quarterback, all about that head coach. Kevin O'Connell's an amazing NFL head
yes,
coach. He's going to
yes,
be coaching for a long time in this league.
he is. But I will say this is going to sound weird given how good they are. But I talked about the teams who just don't feel as good as their record is.
Yeah,
I do feel like the Vikings, especially when you read who's on the Vikings. And again, that doesn't mean anything because you have to read their stats afterward. But when you look at the Vikings team and you just look at them play, they don't feel like they're an 11-2 team. And that's why I'm not as bullish on them going deep in any kind of meaningful way because I just don't feel like they are as good as their record is. They're not the
mhm,
worst case of this. We'll talk about the worst case of this probably next or soon.
yeah.
But they're one of the teams in my mind that I'm thinking about when I'm like 11-2 is awesome. I just don't know why, but my head doesn't make me think that they're 11-2. Like I wouldn't have guessed
It's
11-2.
definitely, especially defensively, that's the one. Remember,
But they used to be like they had a solid defense for a little while. Like their defense
yeah,
was putting up really good stats.
for sure. It's just what Kirk has been doing with people like Jordan Addison. Obviously, Justin Jefferson said you'll be better with him. Or return
Mhm.
TJ Hawkinson. They could coast with that offense with the weapons
Yeah.
wise. They have a pretty good line. It's just sometimes the defense have let up big moments. Sometimes the defensive backs have given up big plays. That is where I think that could happen. But just because the Vikings just score so much and some teams just can't keep
Yeah.
up with
Well,
it,
yeah.
that's their secret
300
weapon.
yeah, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's it's hard to win a game when the other quarterback has done that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right. So, hey, one thing on the pop culture side, Kirk Cousins, quick question. Kirk Cousins' career is as, and I see this watch his press conference. He's talking about Wicked, and he's actually the real life Zac Efron. Um, any chance Kirk Cousins, and he's proved he can perform before too. I saw him before with Kelly Clarkson and NFL Honors last year. Does somebody take a chance on Kirk Cousins and give him the Broadway career he's low key wanted too? I'm serious. There's so many
Broadway?
shows. There's so many shows. Do some
I'll be
stunt
honest.
casting. Did you know Tiki Barber was in Kiki Boots?
I didn't, but that's
That's
fun.
a true story. And then the Madden cover at for Tennessee Titan Tennessee. Yeah, he was the Titans running back. Is it Eddie George who played Billy, what's his name in Chicago?
I think this, if they have a show that really requires a manly man, then yeah, that could be fun. Like again, fun
Yeah,
stunt
Eddie George.
casting.
Just who I said it was Billy George. He played Billy Flynn
Hmm.
in Chicago. Doesn't that
Yeah,
seem like a perfect casting for Kirk Cousins?
he could do that one actually. Yeah, but in general, I think if it's a show that has the need for a larger kind of male, like a bigger guy, I don't mean like a big role necessarily. I mean like a big person. Then yeah, why not? I could see it. I could also see honestly him doing, just whatever, like some TV show. Like I Can Hear Your Voice. We can host that thing for a little bit. Is that still on? I don't know.
I don't even
Something
know
like
what that
that. I
show
could
that
see him
is.
finding
The
a music slash
Masked Singer.
entertainment. Well, that one too, of course, but I could see him finding a music slash entertainment role
Bro can
post
sing.
career.
Bro
Yeah,
can
I know.
sing.
I've heard him. He's not bad. I'm just saying. I just
Get some
don't know.
proper training in there. He still looks very youthful.
He does. That's true. The youth is helpful.
So you hear it first. I think Kirk Cousins will
Be on
perform on
Broadway.
Broadway.
Tony Award winning Kirk Cousins.
Ta! That would be truly the funniest, maybe funniest thing ever. I mean, he's I wouldn't say Hall of Famer for Kirk Cousins. A Super Bowl, I
Yeah.
think, can be talked about at least, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a great NFL career that winds up actually instead of the Super Bowl, the Tony.
That would be crazy. Your reward
He
for a
kind of looks
great
a little
career.
bit like Jonathan Groff, like younger Jonathan Groff.
Yeah, a little bit. I see
Yeah.
it. Hey,
So,
you know what? If they ever turn Brian's song into a musical,
oh
I'm
jeez,
calling Kirk Cousins right away. That's Brian right there. Or
that's funny.
Brian, right? Brian is the it's Brian Piccolo was the guy I got
Yeah, yeah,
sick. Yeah.
Brian Piccolo, and
Yeah.
then Gail Sayers was the other
Gale
one.
Sayers is the other. Yeah. Well, he can't be Gale Sayers, but he can be
Yeah.
Brian.
So Carolina played Philly, where the spread was at, just to make sure, I believe it was as much as a 14 or 13-point spread, but Carolina wound up playing a very competitive game against Philly. Philly only wins by 22,
Hmm.
a score of 22-16, and Carolina was leading in the end of the fourth quarter. I think just an outright terrible game from Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Apparently, they're beefing. And I know this is going to end in the end of the week press conference. Oh, we're all good and stuff.
Of
AJ
course.
Brown changed his uh Instagram picture to the Joker. But Saquon Barkley continuing, he might actually beat the single season record. He was the
Hmm.
only one who had a great game, but everything else was not that good. And only you could tip your cap as Bryce Young seems to be getting more confident as the season progresses. And I'm happy for the guy. Like, everybody was shitting on him,
Yeah.
but he was doing well. Thielen had a great game. Um, Carolina could have won last week after a blown call too.
Hmm.
But Carolina is definitely played proven. I think with the rise of Chuba Hubbard as one of the better running backs
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why. But I think ultimately this was just a bad game from Philly. Ultimately, I
Oh yeah.
truly think.
I mean,
Uh,
Philly's a better team than the Panthers.
yeah, I think they would also be one of the NFC juggernauts to play. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think this ultimately came down to just a bad game from Philly, and Carolina is actually not as bad as people. I mean, obviously they're bad, but they are at least scrappy towards the last few weeks of the season.
I mean they're bad because their record is 3-10, and that's bad for a football team. But again, almost in the inverse of what I was saying before, right? Like when I watch them play, I feel like, oh, they're better than their record. Not like the Packers. I think the Packers are better than their record in a way that they could shock people in, later in the season. Obviously the Panthers are, I think mathematically that's not possible. But I think the Panthers are better than 3-10, like in terms of how they play on the field now. Not at the
Mm,
beginning of the year. The beginning of the year they were 3-10. That was the trajectory of the team. So it makes sense that they ended up there. But yeah, Bryce Young's getting better. Hubbard is better than anyone I think thought he would be. Thielen's doing well, like you said. Their defense is fine. It's fine. I wouldn't say good, but it's fine. Um, I think the Panthers, with some time, could really end up being a strong team again, and they haven't been a strong team in a long time.
no, no, I agree. They got a better future than people think. With the
Hmm.
Seahawks and Carol and the Arizona Cardinals, where they are starting to slowly run away with this division. Only LA's behind them.
Hmm.
But Geno Smith killing it. They have Kenneth Walker's out. Zach Charbonnet steps in with a 134-yard, 22 carry, two touchdown game.
Hmm.
And the Seahawks are one of those teams I don't think are taking that seriously, but they have been able to make some big moments in the last 4 weeks. Uh, Bears the Jets last week with that comeback. Geno looks getting better as the weeks go by. And while Arizona at points I thought looked like that they might be coming out of their rut, I actually think they're a very well coached team. They might
Hmm.
still have some hurdles to climb with only experience will come with that, but they're still in the
Yeah.
mix there. But a big statement victory for Seattle this week. in the
Oh yeah. 30 to
NFC
18 is a
West.
statement. Absolutely. And I agree with you. We don't have to say much more than this is not going to be the Cardinals' year. But you know, they're a good team. There's always
Yeah,
next year.
exactly. As for the Bears and the 49ers, right? While this would be a been a great opportunity for the Bears to keep momentum up, I think their season comes to an end, losing to an injury-ridden San Francisco 49er team, getting 38 to 13 victory. I had a couple touchdowns in there for Caleb Williams. Everything else was just working for the 49ers. While it is going to come down to the wire, San Francisco's just interesting. Do you think that they could sneak into the playoffs despite all the injuries they've dealt with all season long?
Um, I wish I could say yes because I actually kind of like the Niners, right? But when you just look at their like where they sit now, right? They're down there with the Cardinals in the West, NFC West. They have the Rams to overcome there. And then other NFC teams like again, we were just talking about how the Falcons really have barely any shot. They have the same record as the Falcons. Um, I just think that the reality is that out of the NFC, there's enough teams that are better than San Francisco that I wouldn't bet beyond like a
Yeah,
coin flip.
especially in their division. If it was closer, that'd be a thing, but I think it's the Rams and 49ers. As the Rams and San Francisco, sorry. The Rams and Seattle Seahawks are
Yeah.
the ones that are going to prevent them. They still have
Yeah, that's what I
divisional
mean.
games against
Yeah,
them.
they're certainly not going to come out like I said, they're not going to be the best out of the NFC West. They don't have a shot at that. And I don't there's just there's too many talented teams. Like I said, the NFC North in particular is just chock full of talent. Um, and so I don't see them making it, no.
Oh, well, with that. The Bills and the Rams had a thrilling game.
Hmm.
Absolutely thrilling game that ended with the Rams holding off the 40 holding off the Bills by a score of 44 to 42. While Josh Allen, I think, secured his MVP in this game. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Rams had a hell of a game themselves. Puka had a hell of a game, 162 yards
Hmm.
and 12 receptions and a touchdown. Kieran Williams
Uh,
running in the ball.
2 touchdowns, yeah, 87 yards on 29 carries for Williams.
Matt Stafford slowly becoming, still giving people a reason to keep him in this league. He's been playing
Yep.
great lately. But I mean, I think the what the Bills have been able to pull off with essentially a whole new receiving core and the rise of
Hmm.
James Cook's come running back. I think this won't affect the season at all. It was
Yeah.
just a hell of a game to watch. But yeah, it's just the big thing to take out. The Rams needed this game way more than the Bills.
Yes.
And they're going to be fine. Rams have a big game Thursday night, and they will also play the Jets in Week 17. So lucky break for them. And it looks like Rams and Cards is 17, and then Week 18,
Hmm.
maybe it'll come down to a Rams Seahawks finale game. Well, they'll flex that.
I could see that,
Um,
yeah.
so meaningful December games is what it's all about, but an important game for the Los Angeles Rams. The Chiefs and the Cardinals, well, they did it again, Ryan. Looked like the Chargers were about to knock off the Chiefs. They got a huge game,
Been
but the Chiefs
huge.
secure the AFC West with a doink touch, and they're the only ones to can get a doink field goal that actually falls into the uprights. Chiefs win again, 19 to 17. I love watching what this Chargers team has pulled off. What they and even though they lost J.K. Dobbins, Gus
Hmm.
Edwards is I still think a viable second option. But Quentin Nelson, who made some bad drops a couple weeks ago, he had a good game. Palmer has been good. The rise of Lad McConkey and Justin Herbert played really well too. And then just the damn Chiefs. It's hard. A win is a win, but
I won't lie to you. I don't know how they
oh,
rigged this one because obviously we saw what happened. I guess when you've been rigging it as long as they have, the dumb luck is eventually going to catch up with you, right? I guess. I don't know.
here's what I think, right? Here's what one thing we could get out of this Chiefs team for now.
hmm
There's totally beatable. You might have to
Yeah.
prove a point to like destroy them, like beat them by 2 touchdowns, but they're beatable.
Yes.
People might get offended, calling them a flawed team, but I mean, the lucky breaks for the refs. Patrick Mahomes not played well at all for his standards. Travis Kelsey, I mean, he started to throw more to Noah Gray, the second tight end.
hmm
Kelsey's just he's just an old player now at this point.
Yeah.
Whether the Swifties realize this or not, it's towards the end. I think next year is the last year of his contract.
I don't even know he makes it to next year though. I really don't.
He just decides I'm done.
Yeah,
I would be surprised.
he's got a lot of, but he's got a lot of opportunities. That's what I mean. Like, there's more money for him leaving the league at
Yeah,
this point. Preserving his legacy, especially because it seems that the NFL and the football gods or whatever are intent on giving them this perfect
the
ending,
three-peat.
the
It's so funny
three-peat.
that not a lot of people have talked about that storyline as a whole. It's always been there,
Yeah.
but it's not like okay, this is definitely happening. This is just like yeah, from the Ravens game that how that ended to
It's been about
the
the
Raiders,
flukes.
the
Yeah.
flukes is every single time. Eventually, the ball is going to bounce the other way.
Right, and I think that the reality is it's going to bounce the other way at the least opportune time. I'm looking at their schedule here coming up, right? And you've got
Yeah,
Browns, which is a win. Let's be honest, I like the Browns, but Browns is a win for the Chiefs. Texans also probably a win for the Chiefs,
yeah.
right?
Texans aren't as good as they were last year.
No, but then you got Steelers and Broncos.
Those are competitive
Steelers will be really
On
competitive.
Christmas Day.
Yes, that will be a very on Netflix, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they announced the Netflix team, the
Yeah, so
broadcast
that'll
team.
be extremely competitive, in my opinion. And then, not like, don't sleep on the Broncos. Like Broncos also 8-5 at the moment.
They
Anyway,
essentially beat them at Kansas City, and then it
yeah,
was a blocked field goal.
right. That's what I mean. Like, don't sleep on the Broncos. 8-5, they could absolutely see, very last game of the season, depending on how it all turns out for them. That could be do or die for them. For the Broncos, they could have to take out the king to get their shot at the throne, so to speak. A lot of motivation there potentially. Um, yeah, so I would say the last two games of the season are definitely games that the Chiefs could lose, and if it happened today, I would bet they would lose. Other than the fact that, of course, it's Kansas City, they can't ever seem to lose. Um, and if they do that, if they lose, I mean, I know they've clinched their division. They're almost, that's that. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be in the postseason, probably. But like, if they lose those last two games heading into the postseason, I think we could be seeing the unraveling of the Chiefs dynasty a couple games early. And so
That's
we'll
what
have
I
to
want
keep
to
an eye.
see.
And we'll have to just keep an eye and see how that goes. If they manage to hold both those teams back or, even look like the old Kansas City Chiefs against those teams. You know what I mean? If they come to play against the Steelers and they come to play against the Broncos at the end, then I think we can all be prepared for a pretty long Chiefs run
That's what
and
everybody
probably a
keeps
three-peat.
saying. Oh, just wait for the playoffs. That's when they'll turn it up. We'll see. I'm just gonna put you on the record for that. I don't think it is as a lock as maybe
Oh, I
some
don't
people
either, but
think.
that's what I'm saying. If they turn it up early, if they can hand Pittsburgh, who's 10-3, a real loss, a definitive loss, not an accidental whoopsie loss like they keep getting on these other teams. And if they go ahead and they just crush the Denver Broncos at the end of the season, then heading into the postseason, that's momentum, and that'll be Chiefs returning to form. And then you add the postseason Mahomes to the whole thing. Then I think you're going to start see the calls for this is inevitable. This is the Chiefs' year to just get that three-peat. But yeah, if they lose those two games at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if people started to agree with you that there isn't going to be a playoff Mahomes. There's going to be whatever this luck is all that's
Yeah.
carrying the Chiefs, and eventually it'll run out.
That's why I think any team can go into Arrowhead and thinking that this is their game to
Just
win.
right, and that's their shot to really make a statement, get some real momentum behind them.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction that they don't even see the AFC Championship.
Oh yeah, who do you
The
think's the AFC
Chiefs.
champions then?
I think it's the Bills to win.
I do too, but
Yeah.
I mean,
If we have a
who's
Bills
playing the
Ravens
Bills?
AFC championship,
Okay. Okay.
that would be so ideal. Or
I would
even go
see. I'm
Bills
seeing
Bills Steelers. That might be even be more viable.
Bills Steelers would be awesome. I would love to see that. I personally think it'll be Bills and the Chiefs. I do think they'll get there.
Yeah,
But
it's only a matter of Josh Allen. Can he finally do it?
yeah,
That'll be an interesting discussion later on. And then this Monday Night Football, Ryan. I know you love your Jamar Chase in our league.
I
He's the
do.
fantasy champion, and
He's the reason.
with him going off, and then special play disasters for Dallas. I think Dallas secured that they're going to start a new regime, get a new coach, and then the Bengals get a big victory that they needed. While it's going to be harder for them to secure playoff spot, they need a lot of help and a lot of teams to lose. They do keep themselves into it, and the defense doesn't fail them as Cincinnati's defense has failed them all season long. Joe Burrow, I hope everything's okay. I know your house got broken into. It seems like there's
Mhm.
there's definitely a ring going on from the Mahomes, Kelsey,
Yeah, it's
Bobby
interesting.
Portis from Milwaukee Bucks for some reason had his house robbed.
That's very interesting. When
Something
you
to
like
think about.
have it keep going like that.
They picked Bobby Portis. I guess that's the house they found.
They picked Bobby Portis
A-
indeed.
Anyways,
Um,
but since he gets the big win with Dallas here, and the big thing here, I just think Dallas knows that they are uh turning a new leaf.
yeah, I will say, unfortunately,
But too many wins for a good draft pick right now.
yeah, and I was gonna say that's honestly same thing with the Bengals right now. Is they have it's very strange their schedule. So it's Titans, Browns, then it's Broncos, Steelers. So it's like what the Chiefs have, but in reverse. Uh, and
Just about.
again, so it's like win, win, and then you get Broncos, Steelers, and now all of a sudden that's tough. But you know, at that point, you're already at 5-8. So that's your seven. Then you lose two more. I guess but that's still a mid-tier draft pick. I guess that's when a lot of the defensive players get drafted, though, right? Like
Yeah,
not
pretty
Travis
much.
Hunter, but the rest of them. Although I don't even know if Travis Hunter will play defense in the NFL.
He said he wants to do both, but we'll see if somebody will allow that.
No one's gonna let him do both, so that's you'll just have to get over that. But unless he gets in there and he is willing to go to a horrible team that's never gonna win, but will let him do what he wants, which fine. But he's
Hmm.
not gonna do both. It's too
No.
dangerous.
Yes, especially nowadays. But pretty cool stuff though. But that'll wrap up the week 14 recap of the NFL. We'll see you back here a week from today with week 15, and then as well as a reaction to the first round of the college football playoffs. And yeah,
Hmm.
great work, Ryan. Can't wait to do this again real soon.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check us out on the Tweet Cap on Friday. See you then,
Yes.
everybody.
Have a good night.